They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stars in the House. I'm James Wesley.
And I'm Seth Rudetsky. We need our little cute thing. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Our Pride Stars in the House logo. Thank you, David Katz. We are a fundraiser that began when everything shut the hell down last year. We've been doing this more than a year. We are a fundraiser for the Actors Fund. And you may not know what the Actors Fund is, and it is a misnomer, which is not only my drag name, but it is also a word that means that it doesn't describe what something is. The Actors Fund is for everybody.
It partly does. Does.
It is for actors, but it's for everybody in the arts.
Any professional in the performing arts can go to the Actors Fund for help, and not only for literally direct financial help, whether it's help with their rent, financial aid for, I don't know, health insurance payments or food or utilities, but they also have amazing workshops to help you navigate the health marketplace, or even get help with what, Seth? With
the shoe fund.
The shoe fund
So they'll
that
buy
Jimmy
you...
Smits talked about when he was on here for LA Law.
Yeah, they bought him new shoes. It's literally called the Shoe Fund. So it's just a great organization. And, you know, even if you don't necessarily think you need help, you should go to Actors Fund and check it out, because they have all these great free lectures, like how to deal with your finances, just stuff that you may just wind up needing.
Stuff that we still need to do.
I know, 100%. We haven't had the time. But the point is, go to actorsfund.org if you need direct financial assistance, no matter what you do in the arts. And people still get confused. Like I was saying the other day, a publicist I know with cancer was doing a fundraiser, and I said, have you gone to the Actors Fund for help? And she's like, oh, I'm not an actor. I'm like, you're a publicist for Broadway. You're in the arts. If you do anything in the arts, TV, film, Broadway, no matter what you do behind the scenes, in front of the camera, in front of the on stage, backstage. So you go to
across the country.
Yeah, across the country, wherever you are, go to Actors Fund, not just New York and LA, go to actorsfund.org. However, if you're watching right now and you've got some bucks that you'd like to donate, the smallest donation that the website accepts is $5. So anything $5 and up, please get the to
starsinthehouse.com, or you can text Fund 2020. You'll see it there at the bottom of your screen. Oh, thank you, Jason. To 56512. You'll get a receipt from the Actors Fund. You can forward that receipt to donations at starsinthehouse.com, along with a short message, and maybe we can send it to one of the stars of Kate and Allie tonight. Speaking of Kate and Allie, because that's why we're here, Seth, what happens? Why do I usually get nervous about things? Like, we've done a lot of shows.
Give you a million reasons.
Well, what's the main reason on Stars in the House why I'm usually nervous? Because I'm kind of nervous tonight.
When it is a show and or stars that you were obsessed with when you were younger.
My husband knows me very well. Kate and Allie, I was raised by a single mom, and to see two single moms together, I wanted to have both of them as my mom and my mom. I wanted actually three moms: Kate, Allie, and my mom, Elizabeth. So I love the show. It actually was probably one of the few shows, Seth, that actually made New York not look scary.
Oh, you're right. The reason he's from Texas, he didn't want to move to New York because he was so scared of New York because it was so scary on Rhoda.
Yeah. Well,
anybody?
Okay. Cagney and Lacey, which was also a CBS show.
That's really seedy.
Okay, well, I watched both shows, okay? And it was like, that was really scary.
What's scary about Rhoda? Her sister complaining all the time
about
her
weight? Have you seen the episode where, like, 72nd Street, when she gets married, where we used to... Right, it looks scary as hell. What are you talking about?
In New York, it was fine. We'll talk to Jane about that.
Well, yeah, because Kate and Allie filmed not only at the Ed Sullivan Theater, but also on the Upper West Side in the 80s, so they can tell us. But anyway, for the Actors Fund, we are getting really close to having raised $1 million. And when we say raise $1 million... Why are you downplaying
it? When in acting class, they say go up on the word.
Absolutely. I told you I'm nervous. Okay. You have to give me a break. $1 million. We are close to $1 million raised for the Actors Fund. That's right, David. Jason. See, I told you I was nervous.
David's our normal tech person.
That's
Jason's volunteering this week.
Actually, where it's a little bit higher, but we are approaching $1 million, which we hope we get to, and I think we will by June 30th, especially if you help out tonight.
Yeah.
And as Seth has said, that $1 million isn't like $500,000 to
the Actors Fund,
to the Actors Fund, and half of it is for Stars in the House. We don't make anything.
Like there's no the overhead is all paid for by
people who underwrite it, like StreamYard, like the Greg Berlanti Family Foundation, and others.
So we don't get a salary, and then we have a little tiny staff that gets salary, but all those donations go directly to the Actors Fund. There's no like skimming anything off the top. When we get to $1 million, the Actors Fund will have received $1 million.
That's a really simple, good way to put it. Okay. All right.
By the way, is it weird that I'm talking to the camera? I feel like I'm doing this presentational theater. You know, you're acting straight out.
And because when everyone comes on, we'll be looking down like this.
That's what I want to look at. But this is so weird.
Okay, before we bring on, first off, we always forget to tell people to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
The more subscribers we have, the more fancy we can get. Stars like the cast of Kate and Allie, we can brag about the subscribers. So please subscribe.
Though tonight we were very fortunate because Allison Smith,
because of our shared history.
That's right, which you'll get to.
Yes, very kindly got the whole cast for us.
Put this all together. But thankfully, we had already worked on the clips that we'll have tonight earlier.
God. Well, you worked on them.
Right. Well, because we actually, our house is about an hour outside of New York City. And I was there early this morning.
He drove into New York, drove back, and then we're hoping to move back to New York City and get an apartment again because, we lived there before the pandemic.
On the Upper West Side.
And we saw one that looked good. And every time we see one, it's always like this, like it'll go up an hour later, like someone already applied and they got it. So I contacted them and I'm like, we'll be in the city Monday. They're like, why don't you come today to see it? So I'm like, James, would you drive back to New York so we can see this apartment so we can actually get it?
And you have to understand, like major rainstorms in the east. And it was like, it had not rained yet. It was like maybe 2:30 in the afternoon. And sure enough,
as soon as we left, not only was it a thunderstorm, but it was literally a hailstorm. It was from Job. I took a quick video.
As we were about to, after already driving like an hour and a half.
And we were so late and the real estate person was not having us. You're so late. I'm like, I texted you 3 times saying I'm going to be late and I apologize.
This is right before we're going to get on the George Washington Bridge, right?
Look at this.
Open the window.
Oh my God, your head is giant. His head was so giant.
And you can't hear the hail. I mean, I grew up in Texas where hail was really common. Hail doesn't happen that often.
And the story is it took 2 hours to get into the city. We took one look at the apartment and it had a spiral staircase that was basically a ladder. And
it was not the staircase that you would find on the Kate and Allie.
It was literally a ladder. And our 2 dogs can't walk down a staircase like that. So basically, we're like,
we got home about 30 minutes ago.
Annie to the who. So if anyone has an amazing garden apartment in the Upper West Side, we want it.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
That's the conclusion.
Let's bring on this amazing cast.
I say we bring on the amazing cast. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we always have a medical break. And I believe that there is a particular cast member of Kate and Allie who may join us, maybe Ari, during for Dr. Jon LaPook, who's the chief medical correspondent of, appropriately enough, CBS News. And he will join us about halfway through. And it'll give the rest of the cast a break except for Ari. All right, let's bring everyone on, Seth.
All right. Well, why don't you do the honor since it's a show that you're the most nervous about because of your shared history.
Though you have to tell everyone real quick,
what
was the main reason why you tuned into Kate and Allie in the beginning?
Oh, because I'm obsessed with Annie and Allison Smith was Annie. We knew each other. It's like, it's so on the nose. Like,
Did
why
wouldn't I? Waiting, by the way, every week for her to sing Tomorrow, or what was?
Well, I was always she did have singing moments, so I was obsessed anytime she sang. And by the way, of course, I knew Jane Curtin from Saturday Night Live, and I was obsessed with that. I saw the very first episode when I was like 8 years old, so obsessed with her. And then we'll talk about it privately.
So I love the show. I tell you what, why don't you bring on Allison first, and then she can bring on, since she put this whole thing together, and she can introduce all of her friends.
Our talent booker for the night, Ms. Allison Smith.
Yay, me! Hi.
Yay.
Hi, Allison. By the way, are you West Coast, East Coast right now? Where are you?
I'm West Coast right now.
Brava. Okay, put on the shades.
I can see you now.
I know you're allowed to wear glasses. It's fine. Why don't you welcome everyone else in the cast and I'll bring them on as you welcome them.
Do you have? Oh, it's so hard to know who to invite first.
Alphabetical order.
Tell me about it. You want to bring on the fellow child actors?
Well, how about we first introduce the director producer?
I know his daughter very well. We worked at the Rosie O'Donnell show. Please welcome Mr. Bill Persky.
Well, thank you very much. I must say, it's the first time I've ever had the challenge of following a rainstorm.
But not the last.
I have to say that I've done a lot of shows and they've all been wonderful, but I don't think I ever had as much fun day to day as in doing Kate and Allie. And I would like to acknowledge right away, and we got a nice note from Sherry Coben, who created the original idea for Kate and Allie that got the network interested. And she worked with us in the first season, and then she moved on to something else because I was too pushy, I think. But I just wanted, Sherry's watching, and a little corner of this picture belongs to her too.
For sure.
I used to do the warm up, and I would introduce the cast.
Oh, good. Bring them on. I love it.
I will.
Recreate it. Recreate.
I am going to warn you. I made Allison sing tomorrow every week. Every week. Now we'll kind of hold it, and we'll catch her by surprise. I'm starting with Susan St. James.
I'm aware of her work.
Is illustrious and did not as many comedies as she did, more romantic stuff, but terrific comedian, wonderful person. I haven't seen her in a long time, and I'm sure she's as beautiful as the last time I did. Susan St. James.
Yay, Susan!
Where are you?
Buddy.
On the screen.
Fun.
Where are you? In the city or? Are you in the city or?
I know, I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yes, that great
I'm
house.
home in Connecticut, so we might get that rain. It's headed this way.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's a big deal coming up. So.
Oh yeah.
Get an umbrella.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Billy.
And of
All right,
course,
Bill, who's next?
well, the incredible, hilarious, and adorable Jane Curtin.
Miss
Very
Curtin.
good.
Woo!
Hello, Jane.
Hello, Billy. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I wish I looked like the picture they had up on me before, which I think is about from 20 years ago.
And your glasses are my glasses, Bill. You look handsome.
Oh, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good.
And Patrick, everybody good?
We're all good. Yeah.
Okay. And now Ari Meyer, who played Susan's daughter. And is a nurse now, right?
Yep.
That's amazing.
I love it.
How long? When did you decide that that's what you wanted to do?
Oh, long story. But I decided about 7 years ago.
Okay.
More than that. I've been a nurse for 5 years.
Okay. I want your personal number. I have a number.
Yes, I would love to connect.
Don't give it now. Don't give it now.
Give it now. We'll forget it.
And a guy who was so small when we were on the air, and he's now very tall, and he plays a lot of menacing people on television.
Oh, we saw Oz. We know.
Yeah, Freddie Koehler.
Hold on. Before, right? Is that the before? Well, anyway, here's the after.
Sweet.
Hi,
Ready.
I'm so excited to see everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
He
Ready?
looks-
Why so scary on Oz?
Say again.
Why'd you have to be so scary on Oz?
There's a wonderful thing that I heard. It's sort of off topic, but apparently there was this wonderful fan fiction that was written that Chip ended up as my character on Oz.
I like it.
So there might be some strange correlation there, but we'll see.
Ooh, that's scary.
There's a shame in every family.
True.
Okay, so let's go back.
The streets of New York City.
We always love to find out how people got their roles. We were reading about the original pilot, which I guess was called Two Mommies at first. Yes. And Susan St. James, apparently one of the things that attracted you is because it was on the East Coast. And you were like, this is amazing because I can commute from my house. But so was it just an offer only? Did you have to go in at all to network? What was the dealio?
Well, no, I had a deal with CBS that was getting very old, and I fell in love and married my husband, and he lived on the East Coast. So I called CBS and said, I'm not going to be able to do that series or a series because I'm going to be living in New York. They said, well, and I'm extremely pregnant. And they said, well, after you have the baby, call, we'll see what we can do in New York. And Jane wanted to work on the East Coast, and they put us together, and Billy came on, and we never had to think again. We just did whatever we were told because Billy was such a genius.
But how easy it was.
We'd have a dress show at 4:00, and he'd come in for notes to do the air show. And he'd say, on top of that scene one, when you come in the door, spin around. I go, why? He goes, trust me, it'll be so funny. And get a huge laugh. And just whatever Billy said, that's what I did on that show. So
maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. Everybody did what I said.
you knew better.
But then we'd talk about what we were going to have for lunch.
Yes.
We spent most of our time talking about what we were going to eat. You have to admit we did.
Yes.
Most of my memories are more about the food than the scenes.
You remember the Russian sandwich?
Yeah.
That Russian turkey sandwich.
Wait, hold on.
Recognize that, Jane and I both went to Catholic school. So memorizing, we were like awfully good at it. And so I met Candace Bergen at some event in New York, and she said, I'm thinking of doing a series. What's it like? I said, oh, you tape on Thursday night. You're home by 9:30. And I saw her a couple of years later. She said 2:00 in the morning. They're rewriting the show, and I'm there all night. And we never had that, except one time we had a dog, and he knew what he was supposed to do. We had to stay for retakes, and we were also mad. Jane goes, "No more animals. Can't we were here by 9:00?" And
But we also had every fourth week off, right? We shot for 3 weeks, then we had a week. Then we had a week off.
But we also, I mean, the whole thing about videotape is that the cameras had to find you. And the lighting was so simple and bright. It was just bright because comedy needs brightness.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't take a long time to block the scenes. And once we were doing the show, we were flying. So our poor camera crew, which we love so much, were flying along with us. So it was a wonderful, wonderful ride that we took every week that we filmed this show. Or
we had the very good fortune of having Bob Randall as our head writer, and he was superb. And then we added Chuck Randberg and Ann Flett. They got their first script. And but that was pretty much it. We had a few outside writers, but for the most part, we did it amongst ourselves. And a lot of times a lot of it was improvisational, I must say, because we'd be there and suddenly Susan would be standing somewhere and I'd say, oh, look, what's next to you? Jane, go. And it would just come out of what was happening at the time. And everyone was so good at picking up and doing it. Some of the funniest stuff was the stuff we talked about between scenes when I would be talking to the actors, and the audience loved it. We had great audiences.
And
but I can remember, Billy, the first couple of shows we did, you came back after the dress show and said, now I just want to tell you one thing, that the 4:00 audience is here just to get warm. So don't mind if they don't get the jokes. It will be different at 6:30. You don't have to go by that. And then he said at 6:30 when we did the show, he said, now most of the laughter that you'll hear, those people died about 40 years ago. And they're going to crack. And that's why they're always going to get the laughs. But we had such great response. The first scene, the first show, Jane is wallpapering the closet. Ready to go on. Nobody knows us. They've never seen the show before. They don't know our characters. And the minute they get into the closet and Jane's got the thing and she's wallpapering the closet, the place explodes with laughter and they never look back. It was so fun.
And that show, I have to be honest, that Jane was not so sure how it was going to be. And after the opening scene in the first episode, the co-star of that was a guy who got his Screen Actors Guild card based on that job. And it was Kelsey Grammer. And right from the minute he walked in the door, Jane was very happy. And I think she said to Susan after the first scene, you know, this thing may work after all.
It's true. It's true. It just took that first. It was so fun to have an audience because I had done a comedy pilot because I'd said I wanted to do a television show, the half an hour comedy, but it was without an audience. So I never knew if it was funny. I kept saying, this isn't funny. They go, oh, it's going to be hilarious. And then see the scene and it didn't look funny. So I said, the next time I said, I need to do something where I know it's funny because there's an audience. And we had such response from the audience and different from Dress to Air. I mean, it was, and everybody that was loved it.
We also had occasionally somebody who would ask us how long it was going to take because they had a bus to catch. So there were a couple of ringers.
We sped up for them, didn't we?
We did indeed.
It
Had
added
a bus to catch.
And Freddie, you were the baby of the show. How did you feel in it? How much had you done before the show?
Not a lot of television at all. I think that I had just finished doing Mr. Mom the year before. So I think prior to that, not much. But I was 7. So I don't know that there was a whole lot of road before Kate and Allie. I think Kate and Allie was really the thing that kind of introduced me to acting.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
So I have a question because I've been watching a lot of episodes in the last several days. And I saw the clip show. It was show number 100, and one of the things that you talked about, Susie and Jane, was the fact that people didn't know who was Kate and who was Allie. Was that true? Did fans come up to you and say you were the other?
Yeah.
Or they'd say, "Are you Cagney or Lacey?"
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Neither one.
Okay, that's okay.
Let's say, I named my children Kate and Allie. And I go, that's scary.
It's better than ampersand.
All right. Well, I have that little clip that's from the clip show, just to make sure our viewers who don't know
who played whom.
Know who played whom.
By now, you should know which one is Kate and which one is Allie. In case there's still any doubt, let's go to the videotape. I'm Kate McCardle. 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 I'm Kate. I'm Emma McCardle. I'm Kate McCardle. Hello, Allison Lowell here. I'm Allie. Allie Lowell. Je m'appelle Allie Lowell. I'm Allie. I'm Allie Lowell. This is Allie Lowell. I'm Kate. You're Allie.
Alice, this is for Allison and Ari and Freddie. Allison? You had already done Annie. Ari and Freddie, you talked about Mr. Mom, but had you done a half-hour show before?
And Allison, were you doing Annie when you got Kate and Allie? Were you doing crazy double duty? What was the dealio?
I think there was 4 months between. Yeah.
4 months. So when I knew, because
after Annie.
Allison and I used to do this nightclub together when we were kids. So when I knew you, that was post Annie.
Well, explain the nightclub.
Oh,
it sounds like you're out at midnight. So.
We were jazz singers there was a nightclub for showbiz kids that we all performed.
I remember that place. Rosie's
yeah.
or something?
It was
Rosie?
called Something Different was the name of the dessert restaurant, and the show was called Beginnings. And it was all these amazing Broadway kids from Peter Pan and Evita and Annie, and then kids that kept trying out for Broadway shows and not getting them, myself. But that's where I met Allison. So I knew you, I guess, post Annie, pre Kate and Allie, right?
Yes, probably. But
and then
Ari was a very, very accomplished actress.
What were you doing?
No, I had never done anything like Kate and Allie. I had done one movie and television movies, but mostly dramas. Mostly I had cried in everything that I'd been in up to then. Literally.
Movies with Al Pacino,
but nothing like this. No comedies.
And no belting. And then Frederick, what about you? What did you done before? You were 7, weren't you? Hopefully you were in kindergarten.
Yeah, I think that I had done, like I said, I did Mr. Mom not long before Kate and Allie started. And I think prior to that, it was mostly commercials and print stuff. I was a little baby model for a while.
Of course you were.
I had fire engine red hair at the time, so the attraction was that.
And when you 3 were on the set, did you have one of those tutors, Miss Crabtree, that taught all 3 of you at the same time?
No, I think we all had separate tutors because of the age difference. I mean, I'll let you guys do that. Yeah, I was in school most of the time when I wasn't on set.
Yeah,
we all were.
Yeah.
We went to school in the morning. We would come early. My memory is we would come at 8:30 and have school for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then, is that right? Or does that sound right to other people? What time did you guys remember starting?
You were always there when we arrived.
Yeah. And then we would bring books on set. I remember doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. On the mauve sofa.
That was the ugliest apartment in the history.
It was 80s.
But Bill, that was a large apartment.
Yeah.
Where the heck? That was big.
And the wallpaper was so bad. Oh God!
Blame Jane for that.
Wallpapering the closet.
So
What didn't do the rest of the apartment? Just
the closet.
Just the closet.
One of my favorite parts of the show was the open because it was always on location. I'm going to show one of the many that I loved, but then I'd love to hear afterward if you have any stories of anything, because you were on location in New York City in the 80s, and if you have any special memories with fans or others. Here just to give an idea.
What do you want for dinner? How about some good old-fashioned junk food? Bad for you. You know, I was a lot happier before I knew about cholesterol and refined sugar. We all were.
We all were, dear. So you would just be in public, weren't?
Because we would do 10 of those in 2 days, and then we'd shoot, and then we'd do 10 more like in January. And it was always the hottest day of the summer when we did the first 10, and it was the coldest day of the winter when we did the last. I mean, we could barely talk. And we had sort of a pact that we wouldn't memorize those lines until just before we had to do them, because they were really short.
You know, it's funny.
We never knew what to expect. But we didn't. But one time we did some in the park, and Jane goes, "Oh, look at that rat." I said, "That's a rat." She goes, "It looks like a dog." She goes, "No, that's a rat over there going by in the park." You know, including in the apartment at Kate and Allie, we had rats not getting this big walking around the set.
Yeah.
I don't think they have those at Colbert though. I think they cleaned it up since we were there.
Yeah, I loved our theater. It
It was great. It was funky. The heat would rattle, and we got to stop taping because the heat would be banging in the pipes. You know.
No, that was Ed Sullivan.
The ghost.
Trying to get out.
No, that's Ed Sullivan.
Well, you know, now the theater that you filmed in is literally on the Upper West Side is now a Staples.
Staples.
Like the outside of the theater is still there, but it's like a depressing
No,
Staples.
the Ed Sullivan? Is it
No,
still?
not Ed Sullivan.
The second theater.
The one that was like, didn't you shoot on Broadway in 81st or 82nd?
No.
We always
Always in the Ed Sullivan.
we would never shoot in a future Staples.
No.
But according to our
Noted.
research, it said in our research that you guys were in the West 80s. Our research stinks.
No.
That's
Oh,
terrible.
ask us where we were.
You're totally right, Allison.
We trust Wikipedia. Okay. Now I know. Now I
Okay,
know.
now I can walk by that Staples
and not be filled with hatred.
and not be filled with hatred and depression. That's where Kate and Allie
I'm
was
really
from.
glad we cleared that up.
You did a big public service, at least for me, Allison. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
How
Wait,
many
public-
more lies are there out there about
I
Kate and
know.
Allie and the cast and crew?
Can we go back to ordering lunch? Susan St. James, aren't you a longtime vegetarian like I am? How did you have lunch with these people if they were eating meat sandwiches?
What?
Aren't you a vegetarian like I am? How did you have lunch with everyone if they were having like...
I was about 26. And then I ditched that completely. No, but I was not a vegetarian.
Susan went through
I did.
there isn't a phase you missed, was there?
Yeah.
Susie,
But
I said there wasn't a phase that you didn't take.
no, I tried it.
He was never Rastafarian.
Not yet.
I have to tell you one story. When we would do dress rehearsals, but not on camera. The dress show was a real show, but we would run the whole show on Thursday morning or the last second half. And Jane would do the whole thing with a Mexican accent. The whole and she'd do the whole thing as a man. You know, she'd be pulling out her crotch and shaking like this. I mean, she was so incredibly beyond us talented with comedy. We would just stand there and go, how can we respond to this? Don't you remember Billy? She would do anything in those scenes. It was so
I know. I have to say, she's one of the most creative comedians, actors. I mean, you can't stump her. You know, you could say, Jane, what would it look like if Pancho Villa was a woman and decided to go to war against the United States? And she'd just go, right. She wouldn't say who was Pancho Villa. She'd be Pancho Villa as a woman. It was, I remember one
I
time,
actually met a woman who was Pancho Villa.
I remember one time because I spoke, and it was over a loudspeaker from
God,
the
Mike.
booth, and
Like God.
and Jane made a mistake 3 times on the same line, and it was there were 2,000 unemployed people in New York City, and she made the mistake the third time, and I said 2001.
Hilarious.
We did such delightful shows, and people say, how many did you like? I think there were like 2 shows, like even on the Van Dyke show. On the Van Dyke show, there were like 2 shows that I didn't really like.
Wait, why are
Hold
you
on, Billy.
echoing?
All of a sudden, you're
Wait.
echoing, and your sound was perfect.
Yeah, talk about a
until
God, Mike. Hold
I
on.
don't know. Am I back? Yeah.
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're back. Okay. Back and better than ever.
Go ahead.
Which they were they
I
go.
don't even remember what they were, but it's like, well, that was okay, And we had some good people too. We had Joe Namath was on the show. Whose boyfriend was he?
Well, we had John Murray played my husband.
He was best friends with Bob Persky, I think.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Best
Sam
friends
should
with
be
Bob.
here.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Bob
Ben Stiller was
Clark.
on the show, right? But wasn't Ben Stiller?
Yes.
Ben Stiller, Rita Rudner.
Roommate Macy.
Rita Rudner was with us.
Rita
right?
Rudner, Dick Cavett.
Andrea Martin.
Our good friend Andrea Martin.
Yeah.
Andrea Martin, my God, I hip checked Andrea Martin and sent the poor woman flying across the stage. She must weigh nothing.
Correct.
But
That is true.
We were doing a spin-off.
For
And
her, she was going to do a series.
yeah,
Roxy.
and she was a public access director or manager of a station, and nobody came to work, so we had to do everything that their shows required, and it was so frenetic and so much fun to work with her. But at one point, I hip checked her and I gave her the full force. And seriously, I thought I heard her.
Oh gosh.
She just flew. She was unborn.
She's like a solid 90 pounds, but she's fine now.
Yeah.
It's taken around
Oh,
30
good.
years to heal.
Seems
Yeah,
fine.
Good.
it finally worked out. We have a clip of you when you went on strike.
Actors Fund, didn't she? Didn't she apply for a little extra help from the Actors Fund?
The Actors Fund, yes, exactly. Thank you, Jane. You made the Actors Fund worth their while. Hilarious.
Hip replacement.
Here is a clip.
Billy, how about the show where Jane was Lucy and I was Ethel?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Sure. It was so funny. It was so perfect. And of course, every once in a while, we get those makeup people from Saturday Night Live would come over that Jane knew, age us into old ladies or do Jane.
Yeah.
But we don't look like what they thought we would.
There you are.
There they are. The old girls.
I heard they're going to redo Kate and Allie, and I said, why can't we do the Golden Girls, Kate and Allie? Because we have to use that makeup, though, because we don't look that bad.
We do not like that at all.
I just found out actually from Sherry that they aren't going to be doing it. They made a pilot or they had a script. But my feeling about it was Kate and Allie was for its time. I mean, you could have people living together. I mean, the combination of women living together today could, permutations are impossible to figure. I mean, but Kate and Allie was at a time where relationships were what everyone was talking about. And so we really defined a relationship by the fact that it's based on trust, respect, need, and honesty. And that's why that show worked then, because the world was in a little turmoil about it. And now, I don't know where relationships are after COVID. My wife and I are talking. But,
Well, Bill, though, that what's interesting is that I know that the Mary Tyler Moore Show, she had wanted to be a divorced woman, and CBS had said no.
Couldn't be.
In the 80s, I mean, was this the first show where it was like two divorced women?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I mean-
when I teach and I try to show the progress specifically of women in television, I point out that on That Girl, when Marlo
Which you created.
Yeah, when Marlo had a problem with her plumbing. Of course, today when you say problem with her plumbing, it becomes. But I meant that her sink was backed up.
We know,
And
dear.
she called her father. And when Mary had a problem with the shower or something, she, as a grown-up woman, called a plumber. Kate and Allie had a problem with the washing machine. They tried to fix it themselves, called a plumber, and Kate had an affair with him for 8 episodes. So the history of what happened with women in that 20-year period was just through that lens.
But you know, Billy, it's so funny. When Dick started doing Sunday Night Football, I would go out on the road with him because I was on my own, and I'd go out on the road. And these young football players would come up to me and they'd say, this is like 20 years after, maybe 15 years later, "Oh, I love you. I know who you are." And I go, "How would you possibly know who I am?" Because my mother was a single mother and she made us sit down and watch that show. And so I saw every one of those episodes, and I realized there was this whole group of people that watched that show because they were raising their kids.
Exactly. It
It
was a show for its time.
It was.
And there
I think
was
also the humor came out of the culture of that time.
exactly.
It needed to be tweaked.
Yes, you
And
were.
it was ready to be tweaked.
You were a goddess in beige, and she was Miss Yahoo, and you grew a little more Yahoo-y.
As it happens.
The other thing is, in most television series, nobody ever changes, because that's what the people want.
Definitely not on sitcoms.
If there were a show and someone lost their leg because they had that story, the next week the leg would be back and nobody would say anything. But on Kate and Allie, they both changed. They grew and became different people. Allie wore several colors in the last season.
Yeah, there was blue.
Yeah.
Blue in the mix.
Eventually.
Her husband, his wife, her ex-husband's wife came into the show for a while. She was young. And he came into the show for a while, and everybody got to be more friendly, and it was pretty ahead of its time. And we did a whole series with Fred where he met a guy on the street.
Oh, I love those shows.
Disabled, because I used to bring a bunch of the athletes from Connecticut down to watch a show. And in those days, the balcony was closed. You weren't allowed to use the balcony because it wasn't considered very safe for an audience. But they allowed my athlete kids to sit up there, and they used to sit up there and go, "Jane, you look awesome. You look great." So they had to move all the kids up to my dressing room so they could watch it on the monitor. But that inspired Billy and those guys, Bob, to do a story about Freddie meeting a guy on the street, and he becomes kind of a friendly part of our family for 2 or 3 episodes, wasn't it? And the guy.
And eventually he had a girlfriend.
Michael Countryman.
Yes.
Countryman.
Well,
Michael
wonderful
Countryman.
actor.
Yeah.
Wonderful actor.
Allison, you have donations to read. Would you just read some of them? Because we keep getting them in. I want to make sure we acknowledge some of them. Look at your
Where do I
phone.
go? Look
Go
at
to
my
your cell phone.
Oh,
I texted
boy.
you.
You guys
I think
are everywhere. So I just read what it says here?
Yeah, read everything.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is that the one?
Not a techie. Okay. This was literally our favorite show on television. My sister Renee and I still watch it on YouTube. I play the Thanksgiving Day episode every year. Thanks for making a great show based on the strength of female friendships that was ahead of its time. Rhonda from California. Do I say the donation?
Sure, why not?
$50.
Very nice. Thank you, Rhonda.
Hey. I remember that Thanksgiving Day episode, and I remember it was probably one of the funniest episodes we've ever
It
done.
was.
So the most fun.
It was.
Where you put the turkey back together.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where
Turkey.
that's where the comet got into the stuffing, and when she opened the oven, all this green bubbling stuff was coming out.
It was like the Little Rascals making bread.
Yeah, and then we went to a homeless or a shelter, and they ended up with a turkey with 3 legs. We had to put it together.
It's a miracle.
You know, it's apropos of what Kate and Allie meant to people. And the Thanksgiving show is a perfect example of that. I had a friend who was a therapist. Bill, he was your therapist. You can say that. God knows you needed it. Anyway, he said to me that he had this client, this woman who was divorced from a wealthy guy, very similar to Jane's situation. And it was the first Thanksgiving that they were going to have. And she was getting extra appointments to figure out, do they have separate Thanksgivings? What do they do? And then finally, she came right before right after Thanksgiving. And he said, so what did you do? And she said, I did what Kate and Allie did. I invited everybody, and what the hell could happen? And
Wow.
And so it gave people permission to be, and to understand. And again, one of the only fan letters I've ever saved is a woman who wrote in and said, I want to thank Kate and Allie. I'm recently divorced. I have no talents. I am scared to death. Thank you for letting me know I'm not crazy and I'm not alone.
Well, I think I think it's similar to today, what people say of just normalizing that visual, like normalizing a visual for people in the world that feel different, or their family looks different, or they have a partnership that's different.
Yeah.
And if you just put it out there and normalize it for people, then it becomes just about the joy and struggles of life, just like any other family or any other human being. But for you guys to create a show that for its time normalized a situation where people could find solace in their own struggles and say, even if they didn't have their Kate or Allie, that they weren't alone in some way.
So,
Billy, how about the show we did where the landlady comes down and says, you guys have to pay double rent because there's families in here. And so she goes, if you were gay, that would be different. And I blurt out, well, we're gay. Jane looks like she's going to pass out. And then for the show, she's going, gotta tell them that we're not gay. And I'm like, no, it's okay. And they invite us to a dance. And then as only Bob Randall could do, he brings the 2 ladies down. And I think I sent you guys a picture. And Jane gives them the speech. We're a family.
Susie,
and then
I have the clip.
Oh, you do? Good.
I have the clip, and
that was Bob Randall at his best. He won a Peabody Award for that.
Wow.
I mean, it's really ahead of its time, and when I saw it as a kid, I mean, I don't know if I knew I was gay or not, or I would one day be a parent, but I do believe that it sent a very good message without it being preachy. That it was just like, talk about love is love, and family is what you make of it. You really did that. So. This is like a back-to-back because I couldn't cut it down to only 30 seconds. So it's like 2 clips that I'm going to just play back-to-back. It's so good. Here's first. So good.
The funny.
The dance, and we danced to All the Leaves Are Brown.
Oh.
We had a nice dance at the end of the show. It was really cute.
Jane Courts was dressed in brown.
Wow. Our signature beige. Hey, we have our medical break coming up. So anyone that has to go pee, go pee.
Oh, I thought I was going to give my symptoms to Ari, and she
just forward them in an email.
You can put it in the private
geez,
chat. All right, I'm going to give everyone a break here. Susie, Jane, Freddie, Allison, Billy, and all right. You know what? Here's the thing. Dr. LaPook is actually on location. He's in Puerto Rico.
Oh wow, I was born in Puerto Rico.
Oh
wow.
Well, yeah,
That's
he's
weird.
there. Hold on, let me bring him on. 1, 2, 3. Dr. Jon LaPook.
Hi. How are you?
Hi, John.
Hi.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Yo soy bueno.
Bueno.
Why are you in Puerto Rico?
I'm in Puerto Rico because Kate and I came down for the premiere of the Rita Moreno documentary, which is astonishing. It's amazing. What a life she has had, and what an American dream. I'm wearing this because in San Juan, the rule outside is to wear face masks. So I'm honoring that, even though I'm double mask plus 2. But there's a little party going on inside. There's a party going on inside. Anyway,
hey, John, I wanted to the reason why Ari is on, and I don't know if you know this, besides her being one of the stars of Kate and Allie, she is a nurse.
She became a nurse.
She is a nurse now, and I thought, well, my gosh, I don't know if we've had a cast member on the show before who's a nurse and you're a doctor. So I just felt like you had to be on the same screen.
Yeah, so talk medical jargon. Go.
I appreciate it.
Wow. Uncus of the parahippocampal gyrus.
I don't deal with that often, but not in brains.
No, but tell me where you're a nurse.
I am a postpartum nurse and a lactation consultant. So mommies and babies.
That's so great. Where are you physically in your practice?
I'm in the hospital. What do you mean physically? I'm in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles,
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. So COVID's really died down there, hasn't it? Right?
It has. There over Christmas, it was very intense at our hospital.
What was that like for you when you were seeing women postpartum with all the restrictions that were in place?
It was really hard. It was very hard because usually pre-COVID, family members, not during the delivery itself, but afterwards, anybody could visit. During the height of COVID, the fathers would have to leave 2 hours after the baby was born. So it was this very isolated experience, especially for a mom that's had a C-section who can't really move around. And it was really, really hard.
We found a similar thing in New York. I mean, our height, we had a couple of peaks as did you, but in New York City, I was on the COVID wards in April of 2020. And it was impossibly heartbreaking to have patients who were so sick, and I'm holding up an iPhone for them to talk to their loved ones. I mean, that was something that we didn't see I hadn't seen that before. I was in New York City at the height of AIDS, and it was a different kind of heartbreak. But I'm so thrilled with the vaccinations and the fact that the numbers have come down so dramatically. Is it getting easier for you?
Much easier. I mean, we now test all the moms that are coming in. Dads are allowed to stay. You can have a second support person. We have occasional COVID positive moms, but it's getting less and less and less.
So I saw there was some data that the women who had been vaccinated, that the antibodies do pass into the milk.
That's what they're thinking now. Yeah, that's what they're thinking now. There's not a lot of research yet, but it's still, even if a mom is COVID positive, it's still recommended, I think, that they breastfeed, especially worldwide. I mean, worldwide thoughts about breastfeeding are very different than the United States. So in countries that have unsafe water or other, bacterial infections that are really rampant, it's always best to breastfeed, even if the mom's COVID positive. Even with HIV, it's interestingly, this is worldwide, not the United States.
Right.
But there's a lot of research to be done now in terms of pregnancy and the vaccine as well.
Yeah, and I think because even women who have COVID, it doesn't seem to be infectious past day 10, assuming you have a normal immune system. So you got a lot of fresh antibodies that go through the breast milk.
They were at first. I mean, it's such a new disease, and everyone is kind of making things up as they go along, trying to figure everything out. What do we do? Do we mask? Do we not mask? That was the craziest part at the hospital. At the very, very beginning, when people didn't really know what was happening and everyone's a little scared, you would put your own mask on and they'd say, no, you can't wear a mask. You're scaring the patients. Then they'd start to give out masks. And I was on the end of the shortage. They would take the masks off of the shelves where we could get them. You had to ask for a mask. You get one mask a day. I mean, there was a lot of scary things. But at the very beginning, they would separate the moms from the babies. If the mom was COVID positive, the baby could not stay with the mom, had to go to the nursery. And now the standard of practice is those nurseries that you see in the movies where there's all the kids lined up. That does not happen anymore.
Wow.
Babies stay with parents. So
yeah, and it's crazy.
Really
there was such a shortage of the protective PPE.
That
And
was
now the masks are plentiful. So certainly if there's a question about transmission, there's no shortage of that. But I think the aerosol scientists really helped us to make us understand it's in the air. So have better ventilation, have these filters come in, whether it's the HEPA filters or the MERV 13. And there's science behind it. So you don't have to be, once you understand it's in the air, we were able to kind of figure it out for hospitals and certainly in your setting.
Yeah.
Dr. LaPook.
I love what you're doing. My mother breastfed all of us in the 1950s and early 60s. And it was a battle for her to do that. It was a battle for her.
I'm sure.
It was not popular. Yeah, I was a bottle baby. It was not popular in the 60s either. Even I was born in the 80s, but regardless, back in the 60s.
Right. You heard.
Talk about it privately.
Right.
Dr. LaPook, we'll see you tomorrow with our AIDA reunion.
I knew you'd be in your element with Ari. I knew it.
We knew it.
Ari, good. But I want to sign off with something.
Yes.
Ari, good for you. I don't mean to say that in a condescending way at all, but God bless you for what you're doing, because I think this is such a sensitive, tough time for women, and to have somebody who's with empathy and who's knowledgeable and who's compassionate, nothing could be more important than what you're doing. So keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you for that.
Thanks. I feel lucky to be doing it.
You are lucky to be doing that.
Bye, Dr. LaPook. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bring back Allison. I want
Ari, we'll give you a break since you're a fellow cast member.
Sure, that sounds good.
Take a break, and then we're going to bring on Allison, because Seth, I think that
Allison, finish. We have more donations for you to read. I'm going to send you some more right after it.
Yeah, so we got more donations. So Allison, you want to take? I think you got one, and you're going to keep going.
Two more to read, and then I have more to send you.
Okay. I love your show and all that you do. Thank you for having the cast of Kate and Allie as your guests today, Seth and James. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. I still watch the DVDs just to feel happy. Sincerely, Chris from Burbank, $100.
Amazing.
Thank you, Chris. I was a regular viewer of Kate and Allie and was very proud to say at the time that Susan St. James at one time lived in nearby Rockford, Illinois. I'm originally from Belvedere. Thanks for this wonderful reunion. Edward from New York City, $60. Thank you, Edward.
I just sent you more.
Do I keep going?
Yes, we want to read. Everyone wants to have them read.
Of course they do. They're so generous. I've been hoping for a Kate and Allie reunion on Stars in the House for months. Me too. This show was one of my favorites growing up. Thanks for the fantastic cast for coming together to help the important work of Actors Fund. Diane Grasso from Connecticut, $20.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Diane. I adore both of you and went to school at University of Oregon, which makes watching How to Beat the High Cost of Living extra cool as I visited the locations. Adored this show. Mira from Los Altos, $75. Thank you. I loved Kate and Allie so much. I often talk about the episode where Allie relates to a homeless person. Will any of the cast be involved in the reboot?
Well, now we know the answer to that.
I guess no.
But maybe there's a better reboot. Who knows?
There
Yes,
you go,
Queen.
Allison. Yes, ma'am.
I'm so scared it can't possibly live up to the original. Apparently it didn't. Jody from New York, $20. Thank you, Jody.
Allison, you got the same sass I remember.
Don't worry.
I'm going to bring back Kate and Allie for a second to talk about high cost of living.
Jane and Susie, Here's the thing. The reason. Okay, so Seth tuned in to Kate and Allie because of Allison Smith. I tuned in because of Jane and Susie because of the very movie that you just mentioned in reading the donation. Okay, I remember that movie so well. It was such a great premise. You two were hilarious, and Jason put together a little clip.
One of our favorite little moments.
The favorite moment. He like combined part of it with both of you, and I had to show it because it's still to this day one of my favorite movies.
Don't say anything. Just point. Is that real? No, it's a model Millard made 15 years ago when he was an Eagle Scout. With a real gun, you do 5 to 10. With that one, 1 to 5.
Thanks, Elaine.
Cookies 143, paper towels 35, paper towels 35, water pistols $1.09, sausage 2.25, toilet paper 79.
Oh my God!
Cute. So cute.
That
How to
movie
Beat the High Cost.
fast. There was a lot of really good people in that movie. And we had to be like 2 months in Oregon. It was so much fun. It was so beautiful there.
So much fun.
Oh, God.
It was my birthday, the first day of shooting. And so they sort of turned me into Gloria Vanderbilt, little Gloria Happy at Last. There was a huge party. They bought me a bicycle. And because there were all of these bike paths all over Eugene, Oregon. And so Susie and Jessica and I used to take our bikes and we would go on these bike paths and we'd be gone for hours just picking blackberries. We went whitewater rafting, which I think we can actually talk about now since probably all the insurance people are dead. So it was the entire
those pictures. As Jane knows, I've saved everything. So I've got all the pictures of us whitewater rafting and Patrick was there. It was so
And what year was that? Was that 83 or was that
80?
80.
Oh, was it? So it was quite a few years before you reteamed.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't married, so I had to be like 79 or 80.
Yeah, and my daughter wasn't born, so
no.
But let me ask you. I mean, was it because of that movie that you both wanted to work together on Kate and Allie? I would think so.
It made it easier. It made it a lot easier. I mean, when you can go into a project with somebody that you're comfortable with and that you like, come on, you know, it's so much better than I hope they like me.
Or cold turkey.
You know, you mentioned the Lucy and Ethel episode before. We wanted to show this little fun clip of the two of you.
And then
how
we'll
great
bring
you
everyone
are.
back
And
on.
then everyone come back. These are the two of you as Lucy and Ethel.
Ethel, you've got to help me. This whole thing is your fault. My fault? If you hadn't planted the idea that there might be a part in it for me, I never would have opened that script. And that's exactly what I'm going to tell Ricky. Wait a minute. You're going to tell Ricky that I told you to do whatever crazy thing it is that you're about to do? Well, and what makes you think it's crazy? This is me you're talking to, Lucy. It's not crazy at all. All we have to do is... We? Oh, this is no time to practice your French. We've got work to do. Now...
If you close your eyes and listen, they just nailed those voices. You just sound just like them.
Saturday Night Live paid off, right? It's all that sketch work.
You have a lot of sketch work, but it's also the makeup was so damn good. I mean, it just... You became Lucy and Ethel because you looked so much like them.
Did you hear from Lucille Ball?
I loved it.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably for the best.
And that's what a Ouija board is for. Okay.
Let's bring on Billy and Freddie. And
Okay. I now will donate $100 to hear Allison sing tomorrow.
I am not singing the whole song, but I will sing.
It's $75.
Just go to the bridge.
No, you don't have to sing the whole song.
Go to the bridge.
You don't have to sing.
Hold on. We got to set this up though, Billy. Hold on. There's a way to do this. So Jason, put everyone else on mute. And just Allison will be by herself and take off that logo of me and Seth.
Are you talking to me?
Don't mute me. Wait.
Hold on. No. Yeah, don't mute Seth.
Pick a good key, Seth.
It's a good key.
With a day. That sounds high.
That's
gray and lonely. Let's go down.
Yeah, go down.
So lazy. When I'm stuck.
The day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day
Yes.
Got it.
Did you hear?
Billy always loved that so much, and I can't believe you still love it so much.
Oh God, it was just so much fun.
So
So
nice.
got it, Allison.
You have such an incredible voice. Such an incredible voice.
Maybe $50, Bill. Maybe $50.
No, it's
No.
$100 and $100 too. That was worth it.
Yay.
Where do I-
StarsInTheHouse.com.
What's the address? Or online?
StarsInTheHouse.com.
That's a
Okay.
good reminder for everyone else. You can go to
Yes,
StarsInTheHouse.com to donate or text Fun 2020 to 56512.
And if you want memories of her singing that,
I like him.
I don't know why I put it. All right, I'm ignoring that. This.
You're always a day Those times I waited for you seem so long ago. I wanted you far too much to ever let you go.
Wow.
And then there was that.
The shoulder pads.
That was the show where both kids were auditioning for a show. Was it? What were you saying?
I know. I think that was Poor Wandering One, wasn't that?
That was.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
for
sing,
one.
which
Yeah,
is
that was.
true.
You know, I have to say, in thinking about you as kids, I am not at all surprised that Ari is doing what she's doing.
Oh.
Isn't she remarkable?
Yeah, but she always, there was always a kind of a secret self there that was looking beyond acting and where we were and what we were doing. And it's really not a surprise to me that you dedicated yourself to doing good stuff.
You know, you could have helped the whole time that Susan St. James was pregnant for that whole year. Where were you
I
then?
could have.
Maybe it was inspiration.
I had my first
Yes.
Ari in 1972. She's going to be 50 next year. There was nobody talking about breastfeeding, and there was this group of women, really kind of just housewives, that were in Chicago called the La Leche League. They started the thing, and they were like not like the hippies that were coming along, like I was, wanting to nurse their kids, but they were women that wanted. And my mom, she was part of that generation that it was great that you got bottles. It was the modern new way. It was a much better way to do things. And so nobody ever really witnessed it or saw it or anything. And the whole thing today is so much better. It's so great. So exciting if that's what you're doing. Ari, by the way, is spent a lot of time in the same place that I spend most of my time now, in Maui. Ari's a Maui girl, right?
Yes, I'm so jealous. I am so jealous.
I know.
I lived in Hawaii for a year. That was incredible.
And
I
we,
want to see.
we were there the whole quarantine. We spent the whole quarantine in Hawaii. It was beautiful. It was really nice.
We were here doing the show, Susie.
Yeah, I know. I think it would have been on at like 1:00 in the morning in Hawaii. Though.
Right, yeah, exactly. I want to see Frederick before he was a neo-Nazi. This is adorable, a little clip from when James.
I was just about to ask to see something of Freddie's.
Look how cute everyone was.
Well, this is when. So I think Jane, that you were on strike because you were tired of doing all the
housework
cooking and all the housework, and so everyone took
Folding
over.
all
And
those
I think
dish towels. I was the only one that folded dish towels in that place.
Yep,
I
and
did.
wallpaper closet.
And so I think that Chip had just bragged and said that he had done all the vacuuming, and I think that's where this little clip takes place. Right.
Ah, gee. Chip has to vacuum. I feel so sorry for you. It's hard work. You're getting away with murder in this house. Look who's talking.
You don't want my help? Fine, you can cook by yourself. I'll cook by myself and I'll eat it myself.
Hey, do your own wash while you're at it, why don't you?
If you're not going to do the laundry, I'm not going to keep on vacuuming. You don't do it right anyway. Fine, and the whole thing's off.
Guys!
Fine, I can't stand this anymore.
Guys!
Fine, I can't stand it either.
Look, I'm sorry, but I can't stand this anymore.
Do you remember, Freddie, do you remember this scene where I talked to you about sex?
Oh my God, I remember
and we went into your bedroom and every time we sat down, the bed squeaked?
I do remember that.
This made us laugh so hard.
I think that there are probably hours of bloopers from that episode, specifically that scene, yeah.
And your voice was changing.
My voice was changing for about 5 years. It was pretty
I think it's changed during this. From the show, your voice has changed.
Oh, that's one of my favorite scenes.
It never really stopped.
I love that scene so much.
Me too.
So much fun.
One of my favorite shows was the one with the home movie.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that was our second show, and we did it specifically to explain who we were, who the characters were. And it was a project that Ari was doing for school because she had done Leaves the year before to show change. And Jane thought that was disgraceful. And so we did it. And one of my, I've shot a lot of scenes, but one of my favorites is the one where at the end of this movie, it's her father calling about their plans for the weekend. And Susan is filming this conversation and he's telling her that he's not going to make it. Mm-hmm. And Susan put the camera down, it was still on, and the whole last part of the scene between them was them sideways on it really was, it's one of my favorite shows.
So creative.
The camera was like this big.
Yeah.
As opposed to like this now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Ari, we have a clip of you, Ari, being sassy about boyfriends.
That's right. It's one of your boyfriends who I don't think neither.
Oh, Evan. Was it Evan?
You'll see.
Evan.
Take a gander.
Well, I like him. You don't sound like you like him. I like him. I like him. You don't like him.
All right, I don't like him.
So when you said you liked him, you were lying.
Well, honey, there's lying and there's lying.
You know, you've gone out with a lot of jerks before, Mom, and I've never said anything.
You asked my opinion.
I suppose you don't like him either, Allie?
I'm not Allie, I'm Switzerland.
That's way more jewelry than I ever wear now. I dressed up so much more when I was 15 than.
But don't remember that she had us layering things.
Yes.
I had on 4 layers of clothing one night.
Why?
I had to have a little camisole, and then I had to have a shirt, and then I had to have a sweater, and then a cardigan.
Yeah.
I couldn't move my arms.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s. The look.
One of the really good shows between Ari and Susan was when Ari was taking piano lessons. And
the piano teacher, Johnny Leffler,
who wrote the theme for the show.
Oh,
and
right.
He was in love with Susan and Ari thought that he had a crush on her. And that was a very delicate scene toward the end where you guys, 2 women, had to talk about that.
Just watching that, I just have to say everything you said in the beginning about how easy it was. It just seemed like it just happened, Yeah. I never remember stressing about it or thinking about it. I mean, most of my memories feel like just memories with my family, like hanging out on the stairs, waiting with Allison and Freddie at the top. Like I remember more about our conversations or ordering muffins or cappuccinos than anything about the scenes because
we
scenes just happened.
We were who we were, And we were in situations that we were completely comfortable with.
Wow.
Because we were who we were. And from the energy of the audience, we got this lift, and we flew through these shows as the people that we were. And it was so, that's what made it easy, and that's what made it such a joy.
You had a good time doing the show. It was almost
Everybody knew it at the time. It wasn't like we went back and said, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone." You know, it was just fun.
Do you remember playing with the crew?
Oh,
Do you remember when you
hacky sack?
You would have Ernie. You would have Ernie hide in the closet.
Oh, yeah.
Come out and just terrify me. I mean, it was.
Oh God.
Everybody got to play. Everybody got to
I
have
still get emails.
Maureen and Joe.
Yeah. And Liza, my daughter Liza, who's a talk show producer, works a lot with our crew at various times, and they all talk about how it was the best job they ever had.
Yeah.
I just, you at the helm, Billy, really set the tone for this family, and we were your kids, and I'm sure James really felt so loved and collaborative. You know, it was such a collaborative environment, and you were just.
It was.
You walked into the studio and you went home.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you got a hug every time you entered the door. It's just
I remember
what you were going to eat.
Yeah, Billy, there was this one conversation, because it's separate than like giving us acting notes, where Allison and I weren't including Freddie enough, just in our hanging out, just backstage. Like, you have to be nicer to Freddie, like a family member. I remember that vividly, us sitting down with you taking us aside and talking about it like our little brother. You have to be better with him, you know.
Oh, sweet.
Well, speaking of Freddie and the love and caring for him and the love as a family, one of my favorite episodes is, I think, Susie, that you had brought you had bought a cat or a kitten, and
that's before we knew about shelter animals.
Yeah, before we knew about shelter animals. So there you go. Let that go. But the kitten died, and what it leads to is this really, of course, funny, but also touching episode about how to talk to kids about death. And it's not only that, but it's also really that you're both friends and you're co-parenting.
Yeah.
And so there's
two clips.
There's two clips, one with Jane and Freddie, and then the other one is toward the end of the episode when basically, Jane, you're like to Susie, it's like, Susie, why don't you take over, because I think you're going to do a better job. So we're going to show the first one. It's really sweet.
My father's a doctor. He knows a lot of dead people. You're my first one. Does it hurt to be dead?
Chip, are you down there?
Yeah.
Sweetie, do you know what time it is?
No.
It's past your bedtime. What are you doing down here?
Talking to Iggy.
Chip, Iggy can't hear you.
Because he's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mom, are we going to die?
Oh, not for a long, long time. Not until we're old.
And then here's Susie and her take on it.
The point is, whatever happened to Iggy, he's fine. It's the people who get left behind who have the real problems. And it's okay to remember him and to love him. But meanwhile, we have a real live kitten right here who needs a little loving.
Iggy Jr.?
Exactly.
Maybe now would be a good time to show him you do like him.
Yeah. Iggy Jr., I'm coming!
Well, so much for death. Any of the other great mysteries of the universe you'd like explained?
You done good.
Yeah. Very sweet.
Wasn't the cat dead when you brought it home?
Yeah, it was.
It was in the thing, and they were all waiting for it to do something.
It was a comedy.
God.
It was ragdoll cats.
Randall, because he used to live.
I brought you a dead cat. See what you can do with it.
That's why you had rats.
What were you saying, Susie?
I always thought Bob Randall should, and I told him this. He used to live up here around us, and I said, you should write a book of the speeches that Jane and I did at the end of every show. We always solved the problem It was done for good, didn't come back. We had the perfect button for it. And I said, it would be like advice to mothers, and they could just pull out the thing and say, situation, cat died, and then go to page 13, just what to say. Because he was so good at it. He was.
Yeah, he was.
It should have an index.
He was a special guy.
Right, dead, comma, cat. But we also love.
I did 100 shows with you guys. Then I didn't come last year, but 100 shows, a lot of shows.
A lot of shows.
But that's when we did 22 or 23 a year. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They do 8-episode seasons.
A whole season, 23 shows.
On the Van Dyke show, we did 39.
Wow.
Had 13 weeks off.
You're old, Billy, if they were doing 30.
That's the subtext. Hey, Allison, you have more donations. Can you read them, please?
We have a few more donations that people forwarded.
I love watching Kate and Allie. I moved to New York City when the show started as a kid, Chip's age, from rural Texas, and watched the show. My mother had divorced my dad, so I felt like it was the only show that had a divorced family at the time. I felt that Emma's relationship with her dad, Max, was very well written. It was quite different than Jenny had with Charles. Mark from the UK. I love the show and these people. Thanks for being here. Mark from Hyde Park. Love Kate and Allie so much. Great show. Warren from Jersey.
So many donations.
Thank
But you talk about these speeches that wrapped up. Susan St. James, you had this great speech that really, I feel, I wasn't a single woman in the 80s, but it really encapsulates sort of the new single woman in the 80s and how she's able to be ambiguous about things. I want you to hear this speech. I just think it's so well written and sums up, if I were a single woman in the 80s, what I would have been feeling. Listen.
What do you want? I really don't know what I want. I wanted to get married, but I don't really want to be married. I want a baby, but I honestly don't want to raise another child. I want to fall in love, but I really don't think I'm up to the compromises that I'd have to make. I want a man, but I really don't know of any man that I want.
You have just described the dilemma that affects most women between the ages of puberty and senility. Let's eat.
Food always solved our problems.
The other great final scene with them was on Allie's first date, which turned out to be the biggest disaster in the world. And the two of them talking about having a relationship and what it was going to be like. I mean, it was just, they were just genuine. And they were, you know what it was? You guys talked to one another. You weren't acting. You were just talking to one another.
But before we go, I have to ask, as a big fan of the show, and Allison, to your point, since the other reboot didn't happen, and maybe that was for a good reason, I would love to just know what you think your character would be doing. Let's say that we're so fortunate that a new Kate and Allie comes about. What would your character be doing? Allison, I'll start with you.
Starring in a Broadway show.
Sure, exactly. That's what Jenny would be doing.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. No, I mean, she had that great voice, but what do you think?
You know, the thing about Kate and Allie for me was that it was so healing and wonderful for Allison that I can't say I was a fully formed actress as Jenny Lowell. I think I was lucky enough to play off everybody. I mean, other people might think differently, because I definitely did my job and felt very present in my performance, but I don't know. What do you guys think Jenny Lowell would be doing? She'd be really good friends with Emma because Emma's awesome.
Jenny feel like we married. She'd be a mother.
Yeah, she'd be like you. I feel like we were so close to who we were. I could see Emma just doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe more international. You know, I see Freddie could be doing what he's doing. You know, I just feel like they were such extensions of us. And my character was so close to like who I was. I grew up with a single mom. I lived in New York. I probably would have been wearing those clothes at that time. You know, it was like Allison and I tried to get clothes that we liked. You know what I mean? They were just so close to us. Mm-hmm. I think I'd be who I am now.
And so, Freddie, what do you think? Where do you think you would be?
Veterinarian, because of the poor cat.
No, my hope is that after spending so much time with Kate and Allie in the kitchen, Chip is a chef.
That's good.
Oh,
I love that.
Works for them in their catering company.
Nice.
Oh, when they take
Stray too far away from
the chocolate cake show. Oh my God.
So good. Dad is great. Wasn't that the song? He makes us chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Or am I doing?
That's when Allie baked 100 cakes a day.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the chocolate cake, but it was the onion dip that I ate an entire quart of onion dip, which removed all the moisture from my mouth. So that because it was we had it there for rehearsal because we had to, and we kept eating it, and then they kept replacing it, and of course we kept eating it. So by the time the show started, there was no moisture in my mouth. It was very difficult to start.
If we're closing up, I would just like to say again that you guys were part of the most joyous work experience that I've ever had, and that we all are here liking each other all these years later. It's really great, and I thank you for the work you did and that we did together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for getting us all together, Allison.
Yes.
And
Allie, thank you.
James, the
And
truth.
guys, thank you for having this show.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
Thank you
send
for
money, send money, everybody. Make
Yes.
it
I
fun.
want to thank my wife for not watching Blue Bloods during the course.
Thank your husband for not turning on the news.
There you go.
I could sit in this chair and talk to you.
Oh, well, hold on. Jane and Susie, what do you think Kate and Allie would be doing?
Still living together, even though maybe they're married?
I'd probably be listening to Brene Brown podcasts all day long, I think.
Brene Brown.
Still searching for that place in the sky. What would I be? Instead of being a grandmother with 7 grandkids, which is what my reality is now.
Yay.
I'd be married to Bob Barsky, and I'd probably sell tchotchkes.
That's the correct term.
And most importantly, still be friends.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Before we go, since Allison was the one who got us together, I want to just say Allison and I met up again after all those years doing an episode of Will and Grace, which actually was at an Annie reunion where she was a former Annie. There we are on Will and Grace together.
Yay.
That was us backstage. And I thought I played this really fun clip, which I think was pre-Kate and Allie with the real Annie, the first Annie, Andrea McCardle, becoming Allison Smith, this Doug Henning trick, which I'm obsessed with. This is the Doug Henning Magic Special. And this was done live, right, Allison? You had to do this live.
Yeah, also at the Ed Sullivan Theater, ironically.
Oh my God.
Check this out.
Yay!
Oh, that's great. God.
Before I'm 60, I'm going to put a suit just like that on and slide down the slide and sing like that for you again.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to happen. I need a little prep, but it's
All
going to
right. I'll give another $100.
All right. Thank you all so much. This was such a delightful evening.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so
You're
good
welcome back
to see all
anytime.
you guys again. I love you all.
Thank you for coming.
All right, Seth, play us off.
Bye,
And we'll see
Freddie.
you tomorrow.
Sorry.
Of course.